Guthrie Festival at his hometown in Oklahoma, and of course
Yeah.
that doubles the population of the town. It's a town of 3,000, and they have over 3,000 more coming in. But hey, to be
Yeah.
compared to Woody Guthrie, that's a compliment.
I
You
don't mind
deserve.
that at all. Yeah, I don't take it too seriously because to my mind he's way above what I could ever be. But he's a real hero to me and to a lot of people. And I wrote a song on the record. I put a song on the record called "I Come From America." That's basically an homage to him. I was trying to channel the spirit like he wrote in his great classic that he wrote, "This Land Is Your Land," and a brilliant
Right.
folk song
Yes.
that he wrote. And I wanted to have a song with that same kind of spirit and positive feeling about it. So my album is very much a tip of the hat to Mr. Guthrie and among others, but him principally.
And the feel is there for the listeners who haven't heard it. I do recommend you get out and listen to it. But the feel is there. It is Americana. It's he doesn't sound. You don't sound like Woody Guthrie. Your music isn't necessarily in the same vein musically, but the concept is there. It's Americana.
Yep.
It's the feeling of this land that we live in, and it's a great thing. I think you've touched on it very well, and you deserve the accolades. Tell us a little bit about Old Black Roller.
Well, Old Black Rollers, or Black Rollers, or Black Blizzards, these are the names that people called the big dust storms that rolled across the plains in the 1930s, the so-called Dirty 30s that
Okay.
that
Yes.
happened. And in fact, when the big one happened on Black Sunday, April 14th, 1935, Woody Guthrie was in Texas, and he wrote about it. You couldn't see your hand before your face.
Right.
And those black rollers would come across the plains. They were hundreds or even thousands of miles wide, or hundreds of miles wide and thousands of feet tall.
Right.
And the winds would be 60, 70 miles an hour. The temperature would go from 100 degrees down to like 60 degrees in about an hour.
Yeah.
And it was really devastating to millions and millions of people and to livestock. And it was really unbelievable. And what I tried to capture in that song, Old Black Roller, is that feeling of impending doom. It's almost like you look across this big, vast, flat prairie. Anybody who hasn't seen it, you can't imagine how wide and vast it is. And you see this thing coming from hundreds of miles away. It's almost like there's a monster coming, and it's coming.
Well,
And
I can relate.
You're fearful and you're
Right.
full of dread, but I tried to capture those complex emotions you might have.
And
seeing
you
that
did.
happen.
I can speak from experience because I live in the Phoenix area, and we get what they call haboobs out here, which are very much similar. They're actually old brown rollers, but I remember the first time I saw one, I was driving down Interstate 10, headed south from Phoenix down into the Chandler area, and I see this
Right.
3,000 foot high wall of dust just boiling at me
Yeah.
like something out
Wow.
of a Cecil B. DeMille movie. And the weird
Yeah.
the weird part was I had to pull over because I could see I was going to be in a little bit of danger. But off to my right, and I'm not talking distance, I'm talking maybe 100 yards to my right, it was clear and sunny. It's really,
That's strange.
really strange. Yeah, I wish I'd have thought to take a picture of it, but I didn't. There are pictures of the ones we had this last week. We had a couple of really bad ones, but I know exactly what you mean about those. They are really impressive. Yes.
Yeah. So imagine if you had 30 or 40 of those a year after year, almost 10 years of that stuff, and it was just devastating. It just didn't rain. As I'm sure you're familiar with that idea, being living out there in Arizona. But
Oh yes,
imagine
and
trying to grow something and it doesn't rain for 8 years.
I know,
That's
and
no
I was familiar with it before I moved into this area because I'm familiar with the Grapes of Wrath, the Woody Guthrie stories, and stuff that I've learned over the years. Back when John and I went to school, back in the good old days, they used to teach something, so we actually picked up a few things along the line. Now, before we run out of time, hate to cut you off because it's really interesting talking to you, and I do hope you'll come back and see us again, maybe when you've got some new music you want to show off. By all means, give us a holler. But before we let you go, tell the people how they can find you online.
The best way is go to my website, because from there you can find everything, all the other social medias and where to buy music. And so my website is just my three names, Grant Maloy Smith, and Maloy only has one L. So if you just put Grant Maloy Smith in there .com, you can put hyphens in between the names or not. It'll work either way. It'll get to my site, which does have hyphens, but it doesn't matter. Once you get there, you can see my show schedule too, because I'm doing a show on November 19th at Carnegie Hall.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
And thank you. And that's kind of terrifying and exciting at the same moment.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, we're gonna have to go. We've got about 30 seconds. Tell us about this sneak preview we're getting of a song that you're going to be releasing a little bit later this year.
Yep, the song's called "Man of Steel," and it's meant to honor the young men and women who go overseas and put their lives at risk and come back here, sometimes grievously injured, and what they go through to try to readjust to being back here with all the rest of us. And it'll be out a little bit later this year. And this is more country. This is from that upcoming country album I mentioned. So this will be more country than Dust Bowl, but still kind of in the same wheelhouse.
We'll look forward to it. It's a powerful thought, and I'm glad, happy, and pleased. Thank you for sharing it with us and allowing us to share it with our listeners. Grant Maloy Smith, ladies and gentlemen, and here it is, Man of Steel.
I was born right here, like everyone. Learned to read and write, learned to walk and run. And riding in my daddy's truck in summer, it felt like flying. I was a scrawny kid, not too great at school. I enlisted then, the next thing I knew, I'm saying my goodbyes and trading numbers, and mama's crying, in my soldier clothes, in the blazing sun, riding dusty roads with my soldier gun. Then the earth rose up and it spit me out. There was fire and blood
Grant Maloy Smith. That's called Man of Steel. We want to thank our guests, Grant Maloy Smith and Shane Wooten, for a fun show, some great music. We want to also remind you that send us the names of your favorite indie artists, and they may get a chance to get an Independent Tone Award nomination. We're taking them now. We'll be through November, and all you have to do is send us the name of your favorite artist and what category you want to nominate them in, and sometime in October, toward the end of October, 1st of November, we'll announce the artists whose names we are submitting as nominees for the Independent Tone Awards. It's that simple. Send your favorites to David at TheDavidBowers.com, and we'll take it from there. John Bon Jovial, take us home.
Yes, sir. We are on our way. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us today. We always appreciate you hanging around with us. The David Bowers Awards is broadcast around the world from the studios of Computer Help USA in beautiful Naples, Florida, and the Valley of the Sun in Tempe, Arizona, and is available for free on Blog Talk Radio and YouTube, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spreaker, Amazon, Alexa devices, and I kind of, put that together, but Spreaker and Amazon Alexa devices, as well as SoundCloud, Mixcloud, and a few other places around the internet. Be sure to click the follow link on our Blog Talk Radio page and like The David Bowers on Facebook and Twitter, and follow us every day, every week, so you can find out what is going on in the wild, wacky, and wonderful world of indie music. Be sure to join us next week for the David Bowers Awards, Saturdays at 12 p.m. Eastern on WRFZ-FM 106.3 Rochester Free Radio, and on Blog Talk Radio Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, and 7 p.m. Greenwich time for more great indie music and talk with the artists that make it happen. So until next week, for the David Bowers Awards and Nick the Geek, our engineer extraordinaire, I am yours truly, the legendary John Bon Jovial, thanking you for being with us this week and looking forward to being with you next week as well, right here on the David Bowers Awards.